You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome, fellow patriots. Get ready for an hour of unabashedly pro-American, pro-conservative, and pro-biblical principles. This is the Blake Johnson Program.
Well, hello, America. Thank you for joining me today. This is the Blake Johnson Program. We are officially back in action. I'm back behind the microphone. It's been a couple of weeks, but I am here once again. Hope you enjoyed your week. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. And hopefully, you did not lose your home. You may have seen this story, but it looks like Wells Fargo is in some hot water yet again. Apparently there was like 400 people or so that lost their homes to foreclosure because of a computer glitch, a software error at Wells Fargo. And this is causing a bit of a ruckus. And this took place, I believe, between April of 2010 and October of 2015 when the issue was finally corrected. So this was 5 years. 5 years in the making when an error was finally fixed by an idiotic bank. But yes, they said that the error has been fixed. About 625 customers were incorrectly denied a loan modification or were just not offered one even though they met all the qualifications. Of those people, 400 cases, I believe, the customers were ultimately foreclosed upon. So they lost their homes because of an error made by Wells Fargo. Now, just stop and think real quick. Wells Fargo, why are you doing business with them, for one thing? If you can afford to do it with anybody else, I think you probably should, because this isn't the first time Wells Fargo has been put in hot water. In fact, they've been mired in many different scandals in the recent years. Earlier this week, actually, the Justice Department announced Wells Fargo agreed to pay a $2.1 billion fine for issuing mortgage loans it knew contained incorrect income information. And the government said that the loans contributed to the 2008 financial crisis that crippled the global economy. Back just over a month ago in June, Wells Fargo was accused by the Federal Securities and Exchange Commission of using complex financial investments to take advantage of mom-and-pop investors. And one of the most far-reaching scandals involved the creation of millions of fake accounts that the company created for unsuspecting customers in order to boost its sales figures. They also admitted to hitting customers with unfair mortgage fees and charging people for car insurance that they didn't need. So, those are just a list of some of the more recent scandals that have happened with Wells Fargo. But this one, in regards to the 400 people losing their homes, they said that they were going to set aside $8 million in compensation for those affected. But, I'm sitting here thinking, does $8 million, does that really cover the damages that have been done because of these errors? I think about it, you've got over 600 people who couldn't get a loan. You've got 400 people who ultimately foreclosed on their home. I mean, that alone is going to cost a ton of money because you're losing your home. That affects your livelihood. That affects your family. And this has taken place in the past several years. And it's only just now being addressed today. because they fixed the error in 2015, but we didn't know about it until, well, this weekend, really. It's when the story went national. So this is all really bizarre. And I just, I'm sitting here thinking, why are these people still in business? Why is this bank still in business? When you have all these scandals going on, they've admitted to some of them, and yet people are still wanting to go through Wells Fargo. That doesn't make sense to me. So you have that going on, and that, to me, is something that a lot of people should be talking about, and from what I've seen are. So I just don't know how much longer Wells Fargo can keep going on. I mean, really, how much longer can you keep this going? Seriously. So, yeah, hopefully you weren't one of those 400 people that lost your home back a few years ago. But I would suspect there would be lawsuits. And that's the thing. Like, reading the story, I haven't seen anything in regards to, lawsuits being made. There probably have been some, but I would think, if you've lost your home because of this, then you've got quite a case, I think. I don't see how you wouldn't have a case. But these people who've lost their homes, they deserve to get some real compensation back. And I mean, look, I know they said $8 million, but $8 million for, 600 people, 600 families potentially, doesn't seem like that's really going to cover it. But maybe that's just me. So, yeah, hopefully your weekend was better than that. We've got a lot of other things to talk about on the show. I will tell you this, though. I had an interesting weekend. Nothing really out of the ordinary happened, but I will say that Saturday was quite an experience for me. And if you are anywhere near Conway, Missouri, or Springfield, Missouri, or Lebanon, or just anywhere in that region, you definitely should try out the Rocking Chair restaurant. I did for the first time on Saturday. My parents have been there a couple of times, and they finally took me there for the first time on Saturday. They learned about it through a married couple that we know from church, and that's how they first got introduced. So they took me on Saturday, and it's just, they make homemade cooking, like burgers, fries, fish. They have meat there, obviously. You can do a buffet, you can get hot rolls, things like that, salads, just, good old American style home cooking right there. And the prices are pretty good. They're pretty affordable. They're pretty reasonable. And it's all, like I said, it's all homemade. You can get the buffet or you can order individually. So I ordered, burgers and fries. And what's interesting about this is, so I get to the dessert part of the menu. And, you see things like a scoop of ice cream, 2 scoops, slice of pie, things like that. You think, okay, well, that's seems pretty standard for a place like this. And then at the bottom, you see cinnamon roll. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm in a homemade cooking restaurant, and there's a cinnamon roll on this menu. You better believe I am going to get one of those. A homemade cinnamon roll. So I order it, and, I'm thinking this is going to be, a little bit bigger than your traditional cinnamon roll that you get at, Walmart or someplace like that. And it was a bit bigger than that. So we're sitting there, and, I'm eating my main meal, and close to when I'm done, my dad, who's sitting next to me, he laughs and points over to the counter area where they put the food out when it's done to take it over to us. He says, Blake, look at your cinnamon roll. I turn over and look. That thing is a mountain. The thing is like the size of a cake. And I posted a picture of it on my Twitter account at Libertyville93 if you want to check it out. That thing is massive. It is big. And they gave me the option of having some, butter on top of it, and it comes out nice and warm and everything, icing all over it, and there's butter on top. This is heaven. And the very first thing I said to the waitress after she put that down on my on the table, I said, "So I assume you have to-go boxes?" And she kind of laughed. She's like, "Yeah, I guess I should have warned you how big that is." I'm like, "Nah, that's fine," because I probably would have ordered it anyway. But it was delicious, just absolutely delicious. And the cool thing about this restaurant, again, it's called the Rocking Chair Restaurants in Conway, Missouri, is it's Christian owned. And interestingly enough, back a few months ago, there was a big thunderstorm that came through that area. And I know this because my parents were in that area and they were coming home after visiting friends there. And it took them a little bit longer to get home because of that storm. Well, there were people in that area that were caught in the storm. They were trying to take shelter from it. So they stopped by that restaurant there and they saw it was still open. And the people, they saw people out there, so they had them come in to take shelter. And even though they were about to close up shop for the day, they went and cooked food for them. They cooked meals for them, which I thought was really, really cool. So, yeah, again, if you are anywhere near that area, I would highly recommend it. Apparently, it's a pretty popular place in the area. People from my church have raved about it. Even some people from my college that I went to said, "Yeah, I love that place." So, again, it's called the Rocking Chair, and it's in Conway, Missouri. But yeah, it is really, really good. Really good. I will definitely be going back to that place. That place called heaven. But we are going to take a early break, and come back with some more stories. Some that are pretty important. One in particular that's pretty bizarre. We'll do that after the break. Stay tuned. Here's another story that you're probably not going to hear about from the mainstream media. The black support for President Trump has nearly doubled since last year. This is according to a Rasmussen Daily presidential tracking poll. This showed on Friday a significant spike in support from the black community, nearly doubling since August of 2017. Trump hit a 29% approval rating among blacks, up from just 15% last year. Just this week, the president was praised by some black leaders for his initiatives regarding prison reform and his pro-black policies. Black unemployment has dropped considerably under Trump, hitting a record low of 5.9% in May. Pastor Darrell Scott, an early supporter of Trump, said this is probably the most proactive administration regarding urban America and the faith-based community in my lifetime. The president actively wants to prove, and he actually wants to prove something to our community, our faith-based community, and our ethnic community. The last president didn't feel like he had to. He got a pass. This is probably going to be the most pro-black president I've seen in my lifetime. And this is something that you just don't hear too much from, well, at all, really, if you listen to the mainstream media, from CNN and MSNBC and NBC and all those places, is, the black unemployment rate in this country is the lowest it's been, I think, in recorded history. It's definitely one of the lowest unemployment numbers for the black community in a very, very long time. And that's because the president is proposing policies that will lift people out of poverty. Jobs are being created, and you're seeing those jobs pop up in urban areas where, the minorities, they really need them. and he should get some credit for that. But he won't get credit for that. He's constantly being accused of being a racist president. If he was a racist president, he would be doing everything he could to undermine and hurt minorities. But he's doing the exact opposite. So, yeah, I thought you would find that fairly interesting. Some breaking news from this morning, which you might have already heard about, but it looks like the president is going to reinstate sanctions against Iran. Taking effect around midnight tonight, the president gave an order to reimpose the sanctions on Iran that were lifted as part of the Iran nuclear deal. In announcing the sanctions action, administration officials touted Iran's ongoing civil unrest and economic woes, reiterating Trump's openness to meeting with Iranian leaders. A senior administration official told reporters on a background briefing call, quote, "The president has been very clear. None of this needs to happen. He will meet with Iranian leadership at any time to discuss a real, comprehensive deal that will contain their regional ambitions, will end their malign behavior, and deny them any paths to a nuclear weapon." Seeking to fulfill a campaign promise to tear up what he's called the worst deal ever negotiated, Trump announced in May that we were going to withdraw the United States from the 2015 nuclear deal. The accord, as you know, was negotiated by Barack Obama under his administration alongside Iran, Germany, France, the UK, Russia, and China, and this gave Tehran billions of dollars in sanctions relief in exchange for curbs on its nuclear program, which we know did not actually happen. I mean, yes, the billions of dollars were sent to Iran, but the nuclear weapons were never completely dismantled. In fact, as soon as Trump announced we were withdrawing from the nuclear deal, Iran suddenly had access to nuclear weapons. Just all of a sudden, now we have them. I thought you dismantled them under the Obama administration. Well, apparently not. Apparently not. But of course, we don't blame Iran. We don't blame Rouhani, the leader of Iran. We don't blame their anti-Semitic, their hate-filled, violent-filled rhetoric. No, it's Donald Trump's fault that Iran is such a violent country. I mean, not even kidding you. Those are some of the charges that have been leveled against President Trump by members of the mainstream media and the Democratic Party against this president. Saying, well, you know, we had everything going for us. We had everything going for us. And then the president steps in and he ruins this deal. He gets us out of this deal that was bringing peace to the Middle East, even though it wasn't. And now, because of Donald Trump, now everything is just going to hell. I mean, this is crazy. That's not what was happening. Under the Obama administration, if you remember, as part of this deal, the people that we were going to send, the inspectors, over to Iran to make sure that these facilities were not being built, that these nuclear weapons were indeed being dismantled, they could do so, but it was under the Iran conditions. It was under Iranian conditions. So you can come over to this country, but we'll decide which facilities you can inspect and where you can go. Oh. Well, that doesn't sound fishy at all. Not at all. I don't see what could go wrong there. So yeah, that's going on. I think that's a good thing. I think the sanctions are a good thing. It's, you know, we've got to show the Iranian government that we mean business. The Iranian government is a very radical, evil regime. You know, and these same people that are going after Donald Trump now, they were praising Rouhani, the current president of Iran, saying that this guy's a moderate. Oh, this guy, he's going to change things. This guy, he understands the people. Because the people of Iran, yeah, they had their wishes heard. They voted in a free, democratic election, and they voted for a guy who, now he's going to change things. Well, as far as I know, he's still chanting death to America. Death to Israel. Death to the Jewish people. They still want to see us obliterated and wiped from the face of the earth. Doesn't sound very moderate. So this is going to be interesting. Hopefully this will get us back to where we should be, and that is with Iran not being able to develop nuclear weapons. Now, I don't know what else that should be done to prevent this, but I'm hoping that the advisors of the president will steer him in the right direction, and we will see Iran push back, because they should be pushed back. Now, I think it was last week, the president said that he would be willing to meet with the Iranian president anytime, without any conditions whatsoever. Now, I don't think that's a good idea. You're gonna meet with probably the most evil person on the face of the earth, well, him and Kim Jong-un, and there's not gonna be any conditions, no conditions whatsoever. And I found that kind of interesting in the piece I read to you from the administration official, that the president wants to make a deal with Iran that will give them the territory that they're wanting, is what it sounded like to me. What territory are they wanting? Because I know what they want to do. We both know what they want to do. They want to destroy us, and they want to destroy Israel. So, how do you give them the land that they want, but at the same time get rid of their malignant behavior and get rid of their nuclear weapons? I don't see how you're going to be able to do that, because this is not just a political belief. This goes much deeper for them. This is a fanatical religious ideology. They are zealots on this. And it's not just something that you can negotiate a deal with and make them happy. It's got to be all or nothing for them. So we'll keep an eye on that, and hopefully have some more information next week, hopefully. In the meantime, I wanted to talk about this. The president he's really stepped in it. And I don't think stepped in it as in politically he's going to be hurt by this necessarily, maybe, I don't know. But he's making himself look like a fool here, and I don't understand why he continues to dive into these childish back and forths. I don't understand. There is no reasoning behind this. So, LeBron James goes on Don Lemon's show on CNN. Now, LeBron James is someone who, despite my many disagreements with him politically, I think he's done a lot of good. He's helped start these charter schools with his foundation for minority kids, for poor kids really, who are in destitute conditions and who lack real quality education. And this is something that conservatives used to champion, charter schools, but the left would always go against us and saying, "Oh, these don't work." Well, these are working, and LeBron James has played a big role in making them work, giving these kids the education that they need without the government getting involved. So I think that he deserves a lot of credit for that. A lot of credit for that. On the other side, he makes some really, really stupid arguments when it comes to politics. Now, LeBron and the president have a long history of not liking each other. LeBron has not helped things at all by calling the president a punk, a chump, things like that, for his viewpoints and his divisiveness. But I'm thinking, just because someone else does something wrong doesn't mean you have to do the same thing. It goes back to that whole, just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean you have to. Just because everyone else is jumping off a cliff doesn't mean you have to jump off a cliff too. But we still have to make these lectures to kindergartners who have still not grown into adulthood today. The president then decides to respond to LeBron James going on the Don Lemon show in which he criticized the president yet again, saying that the president has used sports to divide the nation. Now, before I read to you what the president tweeted, let me just say this. LeBron, you are a ginormous hypocrite for accusing the president of using sports to divide this country. You have done the same thing. You've used your platform to rail against this president, not just disagree with him, but name call him, insult him, all these different things, and you're upset because the president has used sports to divide this country. No, you have used sports to divide this country, and more than that, Colin Kaepernick has used sports to divide this country. Now, I'm again, both sides deserve blame, and I will give blame where it's due. But part of the blame goes with these athletes who use their positions to disrespect our country, disrespect the flag, and I don't care what people on the left or even some on the right say. That's exactly what they're doing. They're disrespecting this country. You are using a sacred moment that's meant to honor the flag, and you're imposing your own political opinions above that. That is disrespecting the flag. It is. I don't care what you think. That's what it's doing. And that's what Colin Kaepernick did. And LeBron defended him. He thought that was a great thing, even though Colin Kaepernick was using it to divide this country. Now, on the other hand, the president of the United States has also been very divisive as well. In response to this interview, let me see if I can pull up the quote, but he said LeBron James was just interviewed by the dumbest person on television, Don Lemon. He made LeBron James look smart, which isn't easy to do. I like Mike, referring to Michael Jordan. Oh, why? Why do you do this to yourself, Mr. President? Why? I mean, seriously, why do you engage in these things? You're the President of the United States. You have a job to do, which you are doing in many respects. Why not promote that? Why not promote your successes? Why not use your bully pulpit to go for things that really will help this country? Because what you're not doing is you're not driving down the debt. The debt is still rising under you. Tariffs are still going up. Taxes are going up on the American people because of your idiotic policies when it comes to tariffs. You could be championing for economic prosperity by getting rid of those tariffs, but no. Instead, you're going to take time out of your day to insult a basketball player and a CNN commentator. A CNN host. Really? Priorities, man. You don't have them. Now, of course, as is the case every time there's a story about Donald Trump being a hypocrite, as usual, people on his side are being hypocrites, and people on the left are being hypocrites, saying, well, LeBron James, he started it. Colin Kaepernick, he started it. Donald Trump, he's just reacting to them. Are you freaking kidding me? Just because somebody else does it, little kids, doesn't mean you have to do it too. You can be better than them. You don't have to act like a third grader. You could, maybe act like an adult instead of adult. But they don't want to do that. They will defend Donald Trump at every single turn. Every turn. From every angle. They will defend him no matter what. Look, he has done good things. He's done really good things as president. But he has also done stupid things as a human being. And why can't we separate the two? Why does it have to be an all or nothing? You either support him 100% or you don't support him at all and you're fake and you're a rhino, you're a faux conservative, you're a cuck-servative. All these insults that people will throw at you. I mean, I had an argument with this guy on Twitter. He might have been a bot, I don't know. But, I mean, he had, like, a few thousand followers, so I don't know that he was a bot. But his profile picture, yeah, looked pretty dumb. But he was name-calling me, because I support Austin Peterson for the United States Senate seat here in Missouri. And he was saying, Austin Peterson, he's a rhino and a conservative. And I asked him, where's your evidence for that? Where's your evidence? And all he said was, all you have to do is look at his website and what he stands for. And then he starts insulting me, saying I only have 12 listeners. No, I don't just have 12 listeners, okay? I have at least 30, okay? So, I am all set there, my good friend. So, let's not engage in lies here. But he starts name-calling and insulting me, and I'm like, dude, we're supposed to be on the same side, right? Because he's supporting Josh Hawley. And the reason I'm telling you this is, we on the right, we're supposed to be for limited government. We're supposed to be for economic freedom. We're supposed to be shrinking the size and scope of government. We're supposed to be for pro-life issues. We're supposed to be for all of these things. And yet, at the same time, if you disagree with a person, if you disagree with one particular policy, well, the knives are coming out and it's time to destroy you. It's time to execute you because you disagree on one particular thing. This is why we never get anything done on the right, because we're so busy attacking each other. You're not pure enough. You're not pure enough. You're not this. You're not that. Meanwhile, the left, they have no problem going full throttle on their radical, leftist, progressive agenda. But meantime, we on the right, we just don't care about principles. We really don't. And that's what it all comes down to. We are more concerned about our own crap and our own platform on social media that we don't really give a crap about advancing the cause of conservatism and returning to the principles of the Constitution. And that's why we don't get anything done. We'll be right back. There is a really bizarre story and some audio I want to play for you that is going to potentially melt your brain. But it's all for a good cause, I think. We'll do that right after this.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Alright, so I have some audio I have to play for you. This is from a Showtime series. And it's just bizarre. But so Sheriff Joe Arpaio, let me start here. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, you may remember, he's the Arizona sheriff who was recently pardoned by President Trump because he was under some controversy here for the way that he was treating illegal aliens in his prisons. He would detain them, and they would basically live in, hellish conditions. They wouldn't get fed properly. They wouldn't, get proper, food and water and basic nutrition. They were left in just awful, awful conditions. And I believe he committed a federal crime, and he was sent to prison. But he was recently pardoned by the president because the president, supports those who support him. And that's what that really, I think, was about. But he, So this sheriff goes on this show called Who is America? It's the latest episode of Sacha Baron Cohen's Who is America? Now, I will admit, I don't know much about Cohen. I've heard that name before, but he has been known for duping people like Dick Cheney, Joe Walsh, and Dana Rohrabacher. And he did a Sunday night special with a really bizarre segment with Arpaio, in which Cohen was playing a Finnish unboxing celebrity named OMG Whizboy OMG. And I guess he was trying to get Arpaio to say something dumb, and that's exactly what happened here. I'm going to play some of this for you. Just listen to this.
Ja, men frischwe, hey. Hello, Pippi Lundstrom. It's me, OMG, Whizboy, OMG. Dab, just hands. And today I've got a special guest. It's not just me unboxing. No, I'm with Sheriff Joe Arpaio. And he is the toughest sheriff in America.
The tent city that you would house detainees in, which you yourself called a concentration camp.
I already have a concentration camp. It's called Tent City.
It's former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio's own words on immigration that now have him convicted of a federal crime.
I stand by my pardon of Sheriff Joe.
You know President Donald Trump?
Of course I know.
And what's he like, Donald Trump?
Great man. I've been with him, introduced him from day one, from all the campaign.
Is Donald Trump very rich?
Oh, he's got money, but, he doesn't act like he's rich.
So do you think President Trump, he's your friend, do you think he might have had a golden shower?
Would surprise me.
Oh, I would love to have a golden shower. Do you think there's any way you could get President Trump to give me a golden shower?
In Finland?
Or in America, in Washington, in the
Well,
White House?
I'll tell you one thing. If he sees this and the way you're speaking, he's going to like you because you think like he thinks.
Okay, so I'll just pause right there for just a second. So this is really bizarre. Really bizarre. And like I said, I'm not 100% up to speed on what all this guy does, but it's, it's one of those things where he's trying to... If you watch the video, I'm thinking, how does this guy fall for that? Because the way this host is dressed, he looks just bizarre. He looks weird. It just looks like something you would think, okay, well, obviously this guy isn't someone you would take seriously. But apparently, Arpaio does take him seriously. And the best, most bizarre part of this comes when Cohen then asks about his first job. And it goes downhill from here.
My first job was a hand job from my mother, and it was newspapers. What was your first hand job?
So let me say this, me, whatever I did in my life, I always did that extra. It gets me in trouble sometimes.
You wanted to give the best hand job possible.
Extra sometimes.
Oh, so if Donald Trump calls you up after this and says, Sheriff Joe, I want to offer you an amazing blowjob, would you say yes?
I may have to say yes.
What? Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'm not going to repeat that audio, but I just saw this and I thought, I feel like I got to play this. Yeah, he actually said, would you give that? And he said, I think I might have to. Now, the only thing I could think of, and I'm really stretching here. No pun intended. But the only thing I could think of is they're talking about this, and he's thinking, Arpaio's thinking, okay, well, they say things a little differently over in Finland. So maybe he's, because he goes right into, it was a newspaper job. So maybe he's thinking, okay, this is different than, something else. Or he's just distracted. Well, then when he asks about that other thing, Arpaio just says, look, I do the best I can with everything I got, and I would say yes. What? Okay, something is fishy here. I must be missing something, but this seems too bizarre to be accurate. But it's being promoted as if he was duped. Like Arpaio was duped into saying that, and he didn't actually understand that this was a joke. But the whole thing looks like a joke. His accent, earlier in the clip, they start doing this weird thing with these figurines, and how could you possibly fall for that? I don't know. But I thought that was interesting. Another piece of audio I want to play for you. This one comes from the wonderful Democrat senator from Hawaii. And she's rather confused. She has to be educated by an ICE official about what exactly does, ICE do? What does the immigration law look like that's supposed to be followed? She apparently doesn't understand it. And the name of the senator is Mazie Hirono. Mazie Hirono. And she's a Democrat from Hawaii, so of course this makes more sense. But she was asking questions during a Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday on Capitol Hill. And she says, quote, would you send your child to the Family Residential Center? So these detention centers. Would you send your own child to this? And the ICE official, by the name of Matthew Albence, he responds by saying, look, these centers exist because people broke the law. These are for individuals who have broken the law, and there has to be a process. And the senator did not still understand, and here's a piece of that clip.
Only as deemed so by the president.
They are in those FRCs pending the outcome of that civil immigration process. They have broken the law. They were criminal proceedings when the Border Patrol prosecuted them, but at the conclusion of that process, once the individual came into ICE custody, they would go through administrative proceedings.
John, what's confused.
Okay, so did you hear that at the end? That they were talking over the audio a little bit at the end there. But she says, I'm confused. When he just explained everything to her, and she still did not understand. I'm confused. Well, you're a Democrat, so of course you're confused. All you Democrats, you're always confused. But this just goes to the heart of what is going on here. These Democrats do not understand the problem. They don't. They're just playing political games. They're playing word games. They're trying to gin up support for their agenda. But in reality, they don't really care about how much of a harmful impact their policies are having on the rest of America. These detention centers are for people who have broken the law. It may not look pretty, but that's what they're there for. And the Democrats who want to abolish ICE, who want to get rid of, the enforcement of, they would rather have open borders. That's what they really want. Open borders, free stuff, all day long. These people who want to get rid of ICE, they don't even know what ICE does. They're idiots. They just don't care. And quite frankly, they would rather put their own political agenda ahead of the lives of the American people. And the reason I say that is because you had this case that happened with Kate Steinle in California, in which an illegal alien came across the country. He was part of the catch and release system where they will catch them, just release them back, then they come back again, release them again, they come back again. This person had done that multiple times and wound up killing an American citizen. and the family does not get justice for it. What kind of system do you think that is? Does that sound like a system of, a system where the government actually enforces its own laws? A system of justice? That doesn't seem like that to me. But the Democrats don't care. They simply don't. And they will use whatever tactics they can to make you out to be a racist, to make you out to be someone without a heart. You just hate Mexicans. You just hate minorities. That's all you people do. Meanwhile, the black support for the president has doubled in a year. Doubled in a year. This president is called a racist. Well, he's helping out the black community by giving them jobs, by giving them opportunities. Opportunities that all immigrants can have if they come here legally. But many of them don't want to. They will, cut in line ahead of people who are trying to come here legally. And the bad part about this is we've made it so hard for those who are trying to come here legally. We've made the process so convoluted, so complex, that it takes them sometimes decades to get into this country legally. So we have to increase the incentive to come here legally and decrease the incentive to come here illegally. It sounds simple, but again, these are very simple-minded Democrats who don't really understand how things work. Alright, we're going to be right back after this short break. Stay tuned. Okay, so we got a couple more stories for you. This one really has got me worked up because it's just so ridiculous that this happened. But in Cedar Falls, Iowa, there was a 10-year-old girl who was forced to end her street corner cookie business after neighbors called police. Here's what happened. Savannah Waters was selling cookies and flavored water so she could buy new school clothes. Her business was a success, so much so that the neighbors called police on her 3 times. Their main complaint was about the amount of traffic coming into the neighborhood. Quote, "No one had talked to me about anything. They just took it upon themselves and called 911. The police showed up to talk to my daughter," said Kara Waters, Savannah's mother. Her daughter was selling the cookies for hours every day for about 5 weeks. On one day, Savannah earned a total of $250. "Every day for a couple hours, I would bring my wagon and go down to the end of the street and sell stuff," Savannah told the news outlet. Her mom, a former baker, helped Savannah bake the cookies. She said, "I enjoyed it a lot, so then I wanted to have a cookie shop with my mom, because it's always been my dream to do that. I just wish that I could have just kept staying there." Business was booming, and Savannah was preparing to make order forms and business cards to hand to customers. Quote, "Then we come to find out that yesterday, the neighbors, ended up calling 911. What they were saying is that they didn't like the traffic turning around. Savannah was selling the cookies near North Union Road and Paddington Drive in the city," the report stated. Neighbors called police on July 27th, 30th, and 31st, according to the report. After a third call, the young entrepreneur decided to stop. The first complaint told police Savannah was selling the cookies without adult supervision. The other 2 calls involved traffic complaints. Cedar Falls Public Safety Director Jeff Olson told the Courier. Quote, "We had her move a few feet back from the curve," Olson reportedly said. Melissa Winberg, a neighbor, told the Courier she called police because "we've had too many people coming in that we don't know." She added, "My daughter was in our driveway riding her bike, and a car pulled in and almost hit her." Winberg tried parking her car across the driveway to prevent people from pulling in and turning around. "We had 3 semis, a dump truck, and 4 cars parked along the road. To be honest, if her mom wants to open a cookie shop, there are other ways of doing that than making her 10-year-old daughter sit on the corner for 7 hours a day." So here are her plans. Savannah's cookie business has not entirely crumbled. She still has plans to sell her sweets from a less visible spot, her driveway. She's trying to figure out how she can keep it going. Now, this to me is just dumb. Because, neighbors are constantly doing this. they're constantly complaining because, oh, I don't like the traffic that's coming through here. Oh, it's so inconvenient for me. Oh my goodness. This girl was not causing any problems at all. Any problems at all. And these people then decide, well, we're just going to call police and hurt that girl's business. That's exactly what they were doing. They were calling the police because, oh, we don't like to be inconvenienced. Now, in regards to the semi, in regards to a car being almost hitting, one of their kids, I don't know if that's true or not. But you know what? Regardless of whether or not that business is there, you're always going to have to worry about that when you're riding a bike on the street where there are vehicles, period. You have to worry about that. So I really don't see how this is that big of a problem. If you want to move the girl, more outside the road, that's fine. I'm fine with that. But to just say we need to shut this girl down because of this, shut up. Seriously, shut up. This is ridiculous. Another thing that's ridiculous, this is a completely unrelated note. I keep seeing on social media, whether it be my own personal page or just in general, of people getting outraged about the Babylon Bee satire stories. Now, I've shared their stories before on Twitter and Facebook, and I think I've covered a couple of them before on this show. Babylon Bee, it's a Christian satire business or whatever. It's a satire news site, and they post satirical stories just making fun of people like Joel Osteen and the news of the day, and they'll exaggerate something, and they'll just, they put satire in it, they make fun of it to make it seem as ridiculous as it really is. So, one of my friends from church shared this story of, it's pretty funny actually, of Elevation Church incorporating a water slide into their baptism ceremonies. Now, obviously this isn't a true story, but they're making fun of Elevation Church because the pastor there, Stephen Furtick, I believe is his name, he's known for saying pretty controversial, unbiblical things, and, so they're making fun of that church. Okay, that's fine. Well, there were like loads of people from my own church who were taking that story as literal. Like they were actually building a water slide for their baptism ceremonies. Now, I thought it was hilarious, both the story and the reaction, but it was also irritating because I've seen this before on Ben Shapiro's page, on Matt Walsh's page. They'll share a story from Babylon Bee and people get upset. How dare you share this fake news? This isn't true. And then when people would point out, this is satire, they'd be like, well, he should have clarified that. He should have said that in the post, that it was satire. No, you should have been not an idiot and actually went to the site to see that it says your source for Christian satire. That's what it says on the website. It's really not that hard. And I've seen this in multiple cases where all people do is they read the headline and they don't read the story. They don't look at the source. They don't fact check it at all. They don't even care. They don't care. They just read a headline like, oh my gosh, how dare you? And then when you correct them, oh, why didn't you clarify that before? Okay, people. Okay. So please, in the future, if you know anyone who does this, just please advise. If you're going to read a news story, 1, check the source, and 2, read the story. And double check. So, that's going to do it for this edition of the Blake Johnson program. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today. We will see you back here next time. Take care, and God bless.